What's up guys, I'm Ronnie Faisst, and today I'm going to give you a few tips on how to properly ride a dirt bike. So if you're brand new and you just got your first dirt bike, or maybe you're thinking about getting a dirt bike, let's just start with the control. So tip number one, just knowing what control does what. So we have our clutch, which we're gonna use for shifting to engage, just as the same thing on a car. We have our throttle, which is how we're gonna accelerate the bike. We're gonna have our shifter, is how we're gonna go through our gears. And then we're gonna have our brakes. We're gonna have our front brake, which is a hand brake. And then we're gonna have our rear brake, which is a foot brake. And that is gonna be how we're gonna stop the bike. Tip number two, we're gonna get the right body position. So, just gonna jump on the bike right here. Now, first off, I'm just gonna start with the proper hand grip. Now, most commonly with beginners is they have a tendency to sit down on the bike and just grab onto the handlebar, placing their hand really close to the inside of the grip, which causes our elbow to go in towards the body. What we want to do, the correct way to hold onto the handlebars is actually to rotate your hands out, which creates your arms up and out away from the body. You have much better control of the front end with your arms up and out away from your rib cages. Arms in, no. Arms out, big yes. So we want to look for this type of hand grip. Wrong hand grip, correct hand grip. So once we have the correct hand grip, is if you're just gonna ride the bike straight, just want to kind of sit in what I would call the sweet spot of the seat. You don't necessarily have to scoot up to get going on a dirt bike, and you obviously don't want to try to ride the dirt bike sitting way back here. So if you were to be sitting on the bike, proper hand grip, your butt would kind of be in the sweet spot of the seat. Your feet should be able to land right in front of the foot pegs. Avoid being back here when taking off. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to get way up over the front end. Just kind of be neutral on the bike. It's a nice safe spot to start. And what we want to do is, once we decide to put the bike in gear and engage the clutch and roll on the gas and move forward, we want to just lean forward just slightly. Lean into it as the bike takes off, lean into it. What commonly happens a lot with beginners is they have a tendency just to be kind of sitting straight up, get going, and when they let out the clutch and throttle, they sometimes get a little surprise of a yank, which causes them to flick back a little bit. And they normally go straight until they crash into something. Because as their weight goes back, they increase their throttle, and it usually doesn't turn out so good for them. So as you get ready to move forward, just slightly lean a little bit of your weight forward as you take off. So the next tip I want to give you guys is properly using the clutch and the throttle. Now this is going to be the most important tip for you guys, because this is probably the trickiest part of riding a dirt bike. If you can ride a bicycle, you can ride a dirt bike. You can balance and go. But the tricky part for some people is just getting the bike to move forward. And it's because they have to properly learn how to release the clutch and roll on the gas with the correct amount that they're able to take off smoothly and safely. So what we want to do is you engage the clutch, same as you would do a car. You would put the bike in gear, which is pushing down. The gearing would be pushing down in the first gear. And what we want to do is we want to let the clutch out smoothly. So it's a nice, slow, gradual clutch release. If you watch my fingers, it's a nice, gradual release. You don't avoid just dropping the clutch. If you drop the clutch, two things are going to happen. One, if you don't have enough gas, it's just going to stall. And if you just drop the clutch and you have too much gas, it's probably gonna do that, yank you and make the bike wanna wheelie and probably scare you if you're a beginner and you're just getting started. So we wanna let this out real slow. Think about when you learn how to drive a clutch on a car. It's that nice little You know, a little bit of gas and a little bit of clutch. The same thing on a dirt bike. You're letting out that clutch slowly and controlled. At the same time, you're rolling a little bit of gas. This is your throttle. You're rolling that throttle back, and you just want to have a nice, easy. And you can practice. You can practice. Get your bike started up. You can pull it in, put it in gear, and then start to let out the clutch. You'll feel the bike start to engage and want to go, and then pull it back in. Let it out. Let the bike kind of nudge and want to go. Pull it back in. And then you start to realize where that little engagement is, and once you know where that engagement is and the bike's gonna go, just let it out and roll into the gas. And like I said, lean forward a little bit so you don't get the surprise yank. So sometimes, or what we commonly see is people letting out the clutch too fast with not enough gas, which causes the bike to stall. So that's very common when people are learning this. So all you have to do, like I said, you're in first gear, click back up a half a click. I'm gonna put you back in neutral, restart the bike, and try it again. Now the other common thing we see, if there is too much gas with too fast of a release, which causes that yank that I was talking about, which pulls people off balance, is too much gas with too fast of release, which causes an unexpected yank and people to fall back, their weight back, and it pulls them off balance, and they usually go until they crash. All right, so once we're ready to go, we're gonna pull in that clutch. We're gonna push it down in the first gear. We're gonna make sure we're sitting in a nice comfortable position on the bike. Arms are up and out away from our body. And then we're gonna begin to let that clutch out. See how as I let it out, the bike starts to engage? See how it starts to move? That's that practice you can do where you let it out a little bit, stop. Let it out a little bit, stop. Once you're ready to go, let it out, roll that gas on, feet up onto the pegs, and you're riding. So once again, we're sitting in a comfortable, nice spot on the seat. We're gonna pull that clutch in. We're gonna engage the clutch, press down on the shifter, put it in first gear, slowly release the clutch and roll on the gas. Put your feet back on. And remember to lean forward a hair as you take off, just to keep you from getting that yank. The thing I wanna talk about is shifting. So this is a 450 bike, and most bikes, for the most part, bigger bikes, even smaller bikes, normally it's one down. So that means if you were to go to first gear, pull in the clutch, you're gonna push down once. Boom, that would be, here, I'll do it. You're gonna push down once. It's gonna go into the first gear. Second gear is up, third gear's up, fourth, fifth. So one down, four up is pretty standard on bikes. And neutral is right in between first and second gear. So if you go and you stall, put the bike back down the first, and then you half click it up. So it's just a little half click, which puts the bike back in neutral. Then start the bike back up, put it back in first, and then try again. Once you get going, I recommend starting first. If you're brand new, start in first. Once you're going and you need the shift, same as a car, pull in the clutch, shift up. Second gear. If you're comfortable riding around in second and you want to go to third, pull in the clutch, shift up to third. You want to slow down and stop and downshift, it's just the opposite. You'll pull in the clutch and start pushing down. As you push down, you'll go back to second, back to first. So the last tip I want to give you is how to properly stop the bike. And like I said, you can pull in the clutch and begin to downshift if you want, which will slow the bike. But if you just want to stop the bike in general, just pull in the clutch, let off the gas, and then you can apply the rear brake. And if you want to apply a little bit of front brake, you can, but for beginners, I recommend a little bit more rear brake than front brake, because I've seen this happen a lot of times. People get that unexpected yank and they get off balance and get scared and the bike takes off on them, and then they grab a handful of front brake. So if you just grab front brake really aggressive, it's gonna turn the front end and you're gonna crash. So avoid grabbing this aggressively. If you are gonna try to use some front brake, it needs to be gently gentle squeeze. So I recommend if you're brand new and you're just getting started, your best way to probably slow the bike down and stop the bike is just pull in the clutch and to apply the rear brake, the foot pedal. Just pressing down on the rear foot brake is gonna stop the bike. All right guys, so I hope these few tips have been helpful for you guys. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. If you have any more questions about how to ride a dirt bike for the first time with a clutch, be sure to comment down below. And until next time, we'll see you soon here on the Feisst Live.